Hey everybody, hope you guys are doing good. On your screen, you see 8 words that are very important for the CELPIP exam. We're going to go through all 8, and this is going to help you with brainstorming, forming the points, and making sure your task response is good enough. By the end of this video, you will be able to make points no matter what question you get in writing and speaking, and this is for writing and speaking. You'll be able to make points, give details, and never run out of things. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you a secret strategy with which your thinking would be even 60% lesser if you apply this formula. So first of all, what do I mean by these 8 words? Well, once we start answering a CELPIP question, writing or speaking, a major concern for a lot of people is they cannot brainstorm. They cannot think of what to say, and even if they do, they sometimes cannot expand on that enough, or they don't know how to follow up with another point. There's lots of issues in thinking about the right point. And even if you do think about things to say, maybe they're not relevant. There's a major problem in the examiner marking when people say too many general things or too many specific things. And we're not going to get into what they are because we're just going to get into the solution right away. But this will help you in just getting to the root of the problem, and also always having the right points for the examiner and for your marking. Now, when we start thinking about things which are social, we think of customs, we think of social environment, so we think about individual rights, minorities, we think about democracy and justice, the social justice that needs to be with people who are suffering, minorities again, or racism, and those kinds of things. So why do we need to use this word? Well, you don't need to use the word social itself, but you can use points from this. For example, let's say the question is about, in your writing, CELPIP writing task 2, there's a topic about building a park or a museum in your city, and you pick the park. You can say so many points on the social life. You can talk about how people will be able to mingle, communicate effectively, make friends. You can also talk about socially, it would be a better thing for the community as a whole. It's a recreational center. It would show the government's concern or initiative towards social measures. And that's the big thing right now, right? Social things that like charitable things as well, they're included, that businesses and corporations do. And that will show the government's willingness to help people. Now, let's use the same point for the whole discussion, okay? Again, the question is, should you choose a park or a museum? Well, let's talk about the economic point of view. If we talk about the park, you can talk about how many people can get jobs in the park, the maintenance, the gardeners, and the stands. Like there could be hot dog stands. That could be, those people would be getting jobs with this, and it's economic, right? Let's think about another point with the economy aspect of it. If you build a museum, most likely it's funded by the government, which means it's funded by your taxpayer money. So you wouldn't be needing those funds to run a museum. It's electricity, which is way more expensive than just a park that exists by nature. And you can bash the other side saying how much money the museum would consume, and that would be another point in economy. And it doesn't need to be all 4 or 5 points from this. You can mix and match, right? So let's look at the political side of it. In this case, we don't have many points in terms of park or museum. It would again be that point about the government being able to help people, show initiative by listening to people, whatever they want. They can, if the majority of the people are voting for the park, we'll build the park. But in this case, I cannot get too many points here, and that's fine. Among all 8, you will be able to find majority of the points in most of these cases, but some you might not, okay? But if this was another question, for example, the question is about building a shopping mall or building a university, then if it's about politics, you can talk about how university will make new politicians, will make new leaders, and that will help the government, the country, the society, and so on. So there you go with a point from that part. You could also talk about how politicians these days can motivate people. They can come to universities, give lectures. Obviously, they cannot do that in a shopping mall, right? So in different places, in different types of questions, you can make these points. I really like the political point. I almost always use it in speaking part 7. So a recent question was, do you think careers of children should be decided by parents or students themselves, the kids? And if I choose the kids, I can talk about how this will make them more This will give them more authority, and that is needed in order to make leaders of the future. If kids decide career themselves, they can have more autonomy, and that is something that our political freedom gives us, and that could lead us to becoming political leaders in future, and so on. So we can make points from this, especially if it's related to the topic. Let's talk about environmental. Of course, in terms of the park question, you have so many points on environment. You can talk about breathing healthy air and going out for your mental health, all those benefits. You could also talk about how this could be environmentally friendly by purifying the air, not only helping humans, but also purifying the air with more trees, less carbon dioxide, more oxygen, and so on. It could even be something like an example for other countries to follow. This is a very easy point to put in. In fact, you could make it a 9th point here, that whatever, all the points you have here, you can say, this is going to be an example for many other countries, other students, other leaders, whatever your topic is. And you can say that they can all follow this example. So again, with environment, you can make a bunch of points. Let's talk about cultural. In the museum, you can really use this point. It will showcase the cultures of different people. It'll showcase the past, teach tradition and history to our kids. You can even use this for parks and say that you can hold cultural events there, especially during the summers. You can have cultural dances, attract more people because it's going to be a huge crowd that will be drawn to this park. So lots of points can be made there. When it comes to ethical, in this park versus museum question, probably it's hard to use that. But let's say you are writing a letter to, a lot of times in CELPIP, task 1, you write a letter or email complaining to a landlord or someone. So let's say you complain to a landlord and it's about him not fixing your washing machine. You're trying to struggle with a point and you're thinking how to emphasize your frustration. You could use this point. It's not ethical, it's not moral to delay the rights of a tenant. I have been asking you to fix the danger that we have in the basement. It could overflow, there could be a flood here, could be an electrical problem, whatever it is. It's unethical, or it goes against the code of ethics of a landlord to do that. You can use a point about ethics there. If I have to force it in parks versus museum, I really can't about ethics. Unless you want to make a point like nowadays everything is so urban and industrialized, it's only ethical that we consider nature. Yeah, actually you can make a point like that. You have to consider nature, think about our ethics, and make sure we have enough green spaces for animals, for the environment, and that's the right thing to do. So the moral thing, moral preaching and ethics, you can use the points like of those nature in these kinds of questions. Health, again, lots of things you can mention about health in terms of a park. Again, it improves health, very similar to environment. Improves health, and if you talk about sport activities happening there, you can further give that example. That's going to improve the overall health of the community, as well as it'll give youngsters the needed energy they need. Instead of going on their TV screens or TikTok screens, they'll be able to benefit based on health. In a museum, unless it's a museum about health or sciences that teach people about biology, you cannot use that. But if you have that museum, if you make that topic, you could certainly say the museum could be a health museum, talk about how to cure obesity, because that's a major problem right now. And the museum, if it builds on that foundation of biology, it can help a lot of people. Talk about technology. You can have multiple points on technology, not in the park too much, but nowadays there are modern museums being made. So you can talk about how we can use technology to use 3D and 5D even, images, pictures, experiences to not only showcase how the past used to be, but also how the future is supposed to be, how the space is. You can talk about planets, and technology could be used there. Technology wouldn't be used too much in the parks, but it's a very good topic to use in museums. And what I have just done is shown you how to make at least 1 point on each of these parameters with each of these headings. You don't need to make 8 points for any question. You like maximum for task 2 you make 4 points, and for task 1 you make 3 major points, which are already given in the question. You just need to know how to elaborate them. And for speaking per question, maximum 2 to 4 points depending on the question. So you don't need all 8 points, but You can see in some cases we found good points, in some cases we found bad points or weaker points, but we never ran out of points. We were able to get at least 8 on one topic nonstop. So you would just need to use a few of them, but what you can do is start with this, and most likely you'll be done. If not, go with this, and most likely you'll be done. And if not, go with all 8, and you'll get at least the 2 to 4 best points that you can use for your preparation. All right, so now I'm going to talk about the strategy, the secret strategy that will make you use this properly. Go through questions at home. Do this brainstorming task where you look at different questions in speaking and writing and look at all these 8 points. Just like what I did right now, try to do the same and try to make 2 points per heading, which is sometimes difficult. I guarantee you can make at least 1, but try doing 2 to challenge yourself, and then when you go to the exam, it's going to be super easy to use these guidelines. Another secret I'm going to tell you is a lot of these points you can just copy paste in any type of question. For example, when you talk about economic, we're talking about jobs, right? Jobs can go in every question. Like it can go in park will create jobs and museum will create jobs too. And if you're talking and speaking about, even a question like going in an Uber or going in a bike to work, you can talk about going in an Uber, support the environment, support the job environment for Uber drivers. Even there you can place this in. Health can go in everything. Again, going in, if you pick a bike in this case, it's good for your health, right? And in park, of course, you can talk about health. So some of these points you can just copy paste multiple times without much thinking. But if you are faced with a very difficult question in the exam, it's better to go through this brainstorming activity using all these headings so you're never out of points. You do want to memorize all these 8 points and use them in the exam. Whenever you're stuck, you will be unstuck right away. Now, if you want to know how to use these in questions and you want to find the best questions that reflect the real exam, check out the link in the description. It contains 5 mock tests which reflect everything in the real exam. They're very challenging because the online samples you see are very easy. When you go in the exam, most people are surprised with the difficulty level. So in our course, you have that free material included in the price of the course, which is right now highly discounted. Check out the website. It's all in the description. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us. Email is in the description as well. Good luck.